It was love at first sight. I saw her at a softball tournament. She was real athletic. And I saw her sitting on the back of a pickup truck, swinging her legs. And I fell over myself. I looked at her and I went, "Who is that?" And I just fell all over myself. And I knew at that moment she was going to be in my life. I didn't know when or how. We got married on December 13th of 2014. She was diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis about 2 months after we got married. And it's a progressive disease. I don't think they expected it to be this progressive, this fast. They usually figure 5 years. She had 2.5. And she died at 6:42 on September 22nd. And the U picked her up about 10 o'clock that night. When my cousin Bill died, he did this. And his mother we went to visit, and his mother told us about the anatomy bequest. And we looked at each other and went, that is really a good idea. Yeah, we didn't even have to think about it twice.
So it's interesting, the question is, why do we continue to use human remains to learn anatomy after all this time? It's been several hundred years that we've been doing this. There's many different answers, but one thing is, probably the most important answer is, I think students benefit from understanding human variability and anatomy. Having taught anatomy and having performed autopsies, I will tell you there have been times where, even having seen thousands of human remains and various anatomy, I'll look at something and I'll say, this is something I've never seen before. If you're only learning from a book, you're not going to see the variability, and you're not going to see the anatomical pathology. And so those things are really important for a future healthcare practitioner to better understand.
The whole experience was amazing, but I remember being hit by immense feelings of humility just walking in the room before it was 3 days before we actually started the lab. We went in the room and the donors were all present inside the tables, and you could feel the energy of life in the room. So that was very surprising, I guess. I didn't know what to expect. But again, very humbling. I could feel the gratitude of just knowing that life had transformed to the next stage, and these people had brought themselves to us. And
this year we're honoring at the Service Gratitude a little bit more than 600 donors. About half of those donors will have family members who attend the service. So that would be roughly 300 donor families will attend the service. But you're going to see about 2,000 people attend. It's not all donor family members. They're obviously the most important group. They are the reason why we do this. Service of Gratitude is to honor them as well as the donors.
I mean, I appreciate that it's a way for the families to have closure, because they emphasized as well with the program that obviously it's a gift that the donor decided to give, but the family has to be willing to give as well, because they are kind of put in a holding pattern, right? Because their loved one has donated their themselves and their time to the students, and so there can't be the closure that we would typically experience from a funeral or memorial. So this kind of is like a memorial service as well, but with an emphasis on gratitude and not so much on the transition from life into death.
A few years ago, we had some donor family members who said, your service of gratitude was beautiful. We really appreciated it. We would have liked to know more about how our loved ones help support medical education and research. And we thought about adding this session after the service of gratitude, in which we have the medical educators, researchers, clinicians, students able to interact with donor family members. And we have this year 11 different groups that are going to be set up in the atrium outside of Northrop, and we'll be giving information to donor family members about what they were able to accomplish in the last year or so because they were the beneficiaries of the gift.
It's kind of it's the perpetual reminder that you're working with a human being, and so while the science is there, there's the person's heart, there's the person's there's the brain, and to hold that in your hands and to see or sense that that person's entire life has passed through that, all those memories and everything were there, and to see the heart and think of all the emotions associated with it, and there's all these different aspects of the process that remind you of the human component, which I think is something that, if we're not careful, as society advances into technology and things like that, we're going to lose touch with. And to have that constant reminder of the human, connecting heart to heart, it definitely has an impact on how I'm going to practice going forward. I'd like to think I was already there, but it kind of gave me an even deeper connection with that.
The U needs teachers, and this is something I put in her obituary, that she went to the U as a teacher, not a student. And I don't know, it was just something we didn't even have to think about. We just did it.